The last thing is, I talked to my wife before I went to bed last night, and I said, I think I have been so moved by a gig than I was last night. That was fantastic. I was flabbergasted. I was literally moved into tears. It was fantastic.
I was extremely moved by the gig, to have that quality of musicians and human beings. Like, what's special about this festival is every single person I've met has been a beautiful human being, and I felt like I've been welcomed into a really special family, and having that family atmosphere on stage, I think the gig transcended normal gigs. It just felt really special.
Yeah, and I mean, you had Peter Buckle as Rickenbacker on one side, and then you had Lenny Kaye to the left, and Scott McCoy on bass, and your extremely gifted son on lead guitar, and you on guitar as well. So it was like this wall of sound of 4 guitars. It was fantastic.
I needed that because I can't play guitar like I used to.
So you need Peter Buckle and Lenny Kaye.
Yeah, I haven't got the energy, especially for Planet. Like, for 45 years I haven't enjoyed singing Planet because I've been the only rhythm guitar, and it's quite a fast song, and playing eighths downstrokes in eighths is like, wears me out so much with my lung diseases that it makes it hard for me to sing. So I've always dreaded, like, oh no, it's Planet next.
Yeah.
Which is a drag because it's the one song that people do expect me to play. So last night just felt, I've been spoiled because I'm never going to enjoy it as much again because there's so much energy behind me, every single person. You know, John Cowsill, the drummer, he's the first person I've played with that can play like Kelly. And, you know, Kelly, rest in peace, you know, died 7 years ago. There'll never be another Kelly, but last night was a very special experience.
It was. The song you call Planet is actually your second single with The Only Ones, Another Girl, Another Planet.
Yeah.
It came out in 78, yeah.
Excuse me, I call it Planet because...
yeah, that's okay. I knew what you were talking about, just wanted to tell the audience. Talking about that song, I mean, Another Girl, Another Planet, that's your second single. Your debut single was Lovers of Today.
Yeah.
Also a fantastic single. Actually, I bought the promo poster online like 10 years ago, so I have it framed in my living room. It's really, really cool. But Another Girl, Another Planet is a very special song because my 2 favorite rock songs, I mean, through all time, is Search and Destroy by Egon and the Stooges, and Another Girl, Another Planet with The Only Ones, and they both start with like 1 minute guitar solo.
Right, that's high. Lots of people said that's why it wasn't a hit. You know, having 32 bars at the beginning before the vocals come in.
Yeah, it's a weird way of building up a song.
Yeah, because for radio they like the song to happen a bit quicker.
Yeah.
But you know, I didn't think in those terms. You know, I was not career-minded. I just, you know, did what felt good and had fun. So it was never a hit, but it sort of lasted in people's memories and been revived every now and then. You know, the Replacements used to play it. They gave it another lease of life. And, yeah, it's sort of...
Blink-182 did it too. Sorry for mentioning it, but it made...
No, I appreciate it. I got
some money, yeah.
Yeah, I got some money. I think it was Travis Barker heard it on a transatlantic flight on a film, Me Without You, and he was the person that introduced it to him, and he used it on his... he had a TV show, Meet the Barkers or something, and they used it as... Yeah.
Did you see the Replacements doing it? Did you see the Replacements doing your song?
I didn't really get out much, so...
At that time, no?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's only recently that I've sort of left the house, you know, and I sort of venture about 2 or 3 miles from where I live, and so this is like a real, yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience coming here. I mean, I was terrified of coming here, you know, because I thought, when Michelle first asked me, I sort of agreed thinking, well, it seems like an interesting place to die. Then after...
I hope you're not prophetic.
Well, I don't care now. You know, I've been to heaven, like, because it's like dying and coming, going to heaven, coming here. It's been a real sort of cathartic experience for me. Meeting so many, because since I ventured out of the house, I found that there are some nice human beings, and I actually like meeting good people and engaging in conversation with them, which I didn't do for 35 years or something. And so if I die tomorrow, I'll have fulfilled a dream of meeting so many great people.
I'm getting in trouble with my tears now. It's really cool to hear. I asked both Peter Buck and Lenny Kaye, I had it on Thursday and Friday, what they're doing these days, like musically. So besides being here rocking on the top of the world in your last 2 days in your life, what's the plans for 2024 for your music then?
Well, I'm actually really excited because I've done what I think is the best work I've ever done. I've recorded a new album, which has turned into a double album, so it's 20 songs. And
20 songs?
Yeah. No, it feels like something special. And I've actually put a lot of myself into it. In the 70s, I didn't really think about what I was doing. I was just having fun, and music was like a hobby, really. Now it's a hobby, but it's the only thing I do. I'm not having fun apart from the music. And it's coming out in October on Domino Records again.
Yeah, the London-based label that put out your recent two albums.
Yeah. I'm very lucky because the owner of Domino, Lawrence Bell, was a big Only Ones fan. So he indulges me. I'm very thankful to groups like the Arctic Monkeys and Wet Leg, because they finance Domino and allow them to do little projects like mine.
But it's a great label. I mean, they have Arctic Monkeys and they have My Bloody Valentine now too, I think. But they have like Bonnie Prince Billy and Pavement and stuff.
I mean, they're one of the biggest indies, but you've got a personal relationship with them. Which we never had with CBS. The big mistake we made in the 70s was signing to CBS, not signing to, because Chris Blackwell wanted to sign us for Island, Seymour Stein wanted to sign us for Sire. But because Bob Dylan was on CBS, there was some sort of nostalgic, attraction to them, and I made a big mistake.
Yeah, but I mean, in the late 70s compared to now, being on a major label was like a big thing. And now it's not a big thing anymore.
I sort of, because I knew sort of Malcolm and Vivian at the beginning. I liked the way Malcolm took money off big labels and then fucked up them, took their money and from 3 different labels. And I thought it was like a war, against the music industry. So I signed to CBS and took their money, but I treated them like the enemy, which is not a good, it's not a good way to build a career.
My personal backdrop for your music is when I was 19 years old, I've been collecting vinyl for like 10 years, and I bought my first CD player. So my first CD was very important to be like a cool one. And a friend of mine had talked about The Only Ones and this particular song, Not a Girl on the Planet. So I found this record that was put out 2 years before, in 1989, called The Peel Sessions, and I bought it. And that is...
The Peel Sessions is the best thing we did, ever.
Wow! I'm so glad you said that. I was afraid to say that, because I think it's better than your studio albums. That's how you should sound.
So much better, that is the best album we did. Every song on that is a better version than what came out on our proper albums. And the reason for that is when we did the Peel Sessions, they were done on 8-track. So it was like 2 tracks with drums, bass, 2 guitars, vocals, 2 tracks if you wanted to do an overdubbed guitar or a backing vocal, and that was it. So basically, that was us playing the songs live.
Yeah.
When we recorded them in the studio, they had 24 tracks, so we put down the live things, but then friends would drop in, and we say, put down some keyboards on this, put down a sax on this, and the essence of the music tends to get buried if you take advantage of the 24 tracks without actually thinking, are these overdubs needed?
Yeah, because it looks like everything is cut down to the chase. I mean, this is extremely organic sound, and the guitars has never been better. It's fantastic.
And also, you had a very limited time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you were meant to have 3 hours to do like 4 songs. We were always like 2 3/4 hours late. So thankfully the engineers were very understanding and would let us go on a bit. But it's a drag that they're not available on Spotify because like BBC own them. But Domino want to buy them off the BBC, and they're going to do
a reissue.
Yeah, sort of a Remains box set, which is like Remains, which was leftovers from the Only Ones times, and also the Peel sessions.
Oh, that's really great news, because people should have the possibility to listen to it.
I'd like people to hear us at our best, because we were a great live band then, and you know, the live, because they were basically live recordings. That shows us at our best.
And I'm so glad you said it, because it's one of my favorite records ever, and it made a big impression on me. I didn't listen to anything else for like 2 months. I was totally addicted to it. It's fantastic. So it's coming out now, so everyone will hear it, because you can't get it online right now. Yeah.
Well, you can get it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's split it up in
not
each
on
song.
the streaming platforms, but YouTube. Yeah.
And you can buy it on vinyl and CD or like Discogs. It's always a bit hard to label the Only Ones music. I ran a record store for 10 years, and I was pushing a lot of Only Ones records on people, and they said, okay, what is it? And I thought, okay, it's rock and roll, but it felt both right and wrong at the same time. And I think your name of the band is actually perfect, because you are the only ones.
Exactly. I just wanted to be different from everybody else. You know, I mean, one cover that I've done is "I'm Not Like Everybody Else."
Yeah, on Woke Up Sticky record, the Kinks song.
By the Kinks, and that's I didn't want to be. I just wanted to be idiosyncratic rather than anthemic. I had no pretensions to be a big band that was anthemic and could play to hundreds of thousands of people. I just wanted to be unique. That was more important.
I love that version of the Kinks song on Woke Up Stick. I actually love that record. It's a fantastic record. And I always thought about that as your solo album. But when How the West Was Won came out, that was introduced as a solo album.
Yeah, well, because I didn't want to. Woke Up Sticky was meant to be the one, but because they wanted to promote it, Peter Perrett in the one. It's just the way things work. But it was meant to be a group, whereas I realised that, I've got to use my name, because if I went under the name The Only Ones, I could charge twice as much, 3 times as much money. But, that's not what I'm about, I did 4 gigs with The Only Ones last August. It feels weird because our original drummer's dead, and I don't know. 4 gigs were enjoyable, but, I think the past is best left behind, really.
Yeah, and it was a band existing for a very short time. I mean, you gave us three albums in 3 years, and then you split up, and it's kind of hard to getting the same energy, the same mix of people.
Yeah, I mean, when we met again in 2007 and did a short reunion for a couple of years, but we hadn't seen each other in the interim, and we were different people. You can't just reconstruct something that emerged organically in the 70s. And also I was still using drugs then, so although I was there physically, I wasn't there mentally, and my voice definitely wasn't there.
Okay.
And
you played in Norway too. You played.
Yeah, we played down on the Farm Festival, which was really enjoyable. Jarton Christensen, he guested with us at the Campfire stage one night, and then we headlined the main stage the next night. Tinder Sticks were meant to headline, but the promoter said, he came into our tent and said, I think they're a bit too depressing, so they're going on before you. And we headlined it in the end.
Jarton Christensen, he's writing all the songs in Dum Dum Boys, the most successful rock band in Norway. He never plays solos, like Peter Buck and like Johnny Marr. But he sent me a YouTube clip because we had this fellow relationship through The Only Ones. Because when I met him, we were talking music and we were talking about The Only Ones. And I actually burned this Till Session CD to him. Yeah, and he said, okay, I want to show you something. And he sent me a YouTube clip where he's playing the intro of Another Girl on Another Planet, which was really disturbing. So how did you team up? How did you team up?
I think it was when we were going to play Down on the Farm Festival, I think that was the first time we met him. It was in Howden, and he had a friend who had a recording studio in Howden, and we went and rehearsed for an hour or two with him there. And then he took us to the top of some mountain, well, it seemed like a mountain. I don't know if it was an actual mountain, but it seemed like the top of the world. And these people kept coming up to him, asking if they could take his take a photograph with him. And then I realised it was quite well known in Norway. And he became a friend. He's a really lovely guy.
He is.
And he came over to London, and he played with us at a gig in London. He came on to the encore.
I talked to him last summer, and we also came into The Only Ones again, as we used to do. And he said he met you in London, and he was smoking cigarettes, and then you said to him, "You shouldn't do that. It's dangerous for you." Been selling that from Peter Perrett was kind of special.
Okay, so that must have been after I gave up. I gave up on April the 8th, 2011, as a birthday present to myself. Because I'm really struggling to breathe. And if I can't breathe, I'm not going to be able to sing ever again. And I'd stopped taking drugs by then. I thought, what am I going to do with my time? I think I'll start playing the guitar. And if I play guitar, I'm going to write songs. So I want to be able to sing them. And I stopped smoking, because I used to smoke 30 joints a day. And I stopped smoking joints and nicotine. And I didn't have one puff since making that decision. I've got very strong willpower. I'm just a really bad procrastinator. The Only Ones is well known for the 3 records that we would put out on CBS, but you had a band before that called England's Glory. And you started laughing. What were you laughing? Well, we played one gig. Do you know what I mean? You recorded an album that we actually made vinyl. We made 25 copies on vinyl. Yeah. And it felt like
you got it.
We sold them to our friends. £4 each was a lot of money back then.
I think you can get it now for like if you sell your house and your car, you may have you can afford to buy it.
Well, one of the 25. Yeah.
That band sounds pretty different from The Only Ones, and there's this urban myth about it that Nick Kent, the late great Nick Kent, the NME journalist, was fooled into believing that the England's Glory demos was in fact a bootleg of a Velvet Underground outtakes. And he was fooled to believe it, even though he's singing.
That's true, because when I met him when The Only Ones were together, The Only Ones did a song called Peter and the Pets. Yeah. And he recognised it from being played, the England's Glory thing, and then it put it together, But there was a guy called David Sanderson who worked at EMI, played it to him and actually fooled him for a while, That's because, I was young, it was the first time I was singing, and when you're young, you tend to sound like the people that you like. And I only ever really was in love with Bob Dylan and the Velvet Underground. So I call it my mid-Atlantic voice before I had the confidence to discover my own voice.
Yeah, because your music is, as I said earlier, it's hard to label. But Lou Reed and Velvet Underground comes to mind. I mean, even in The Only Ones, you think about The Only Ones as kind of a transatlantic band, the way it sounds.
I think that's because musically, I suppose we had more in common with New York bands like Television and people like that. Like we had someone who played a bit of lead guitar, which not many English bands had at that time. Like it was like anathema to the punk movement.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed. I enjoyed like standing out from the basic 1, 2, 3, 4. You know.
Yeah, the dogmatic thing.
Yeah. It's like because why if you're trying to destroy the establishment, why start wearing a uniform immediately? You know, it didn't make sense to me.
Now that's a contradiction in terms. The punks were so uniform. Yeah. But the New York scene at that time was even as important as in England. And you mentioned television here. I read somewhere that you actually saved Richard Lloyd's life.
Yeah.
One of the two guitar players. Is that a true story?
I'm guilty, yeah.
You're guilty.
Well,
he's still alive.
To people that love him, I'm a hero. Yeah, if anyone out there, if Richard's done anything to them bad, then I'm guilty. Yeah, because he wouldn't be alive if I didn't act quickly. If I didn't have Kelly living down the road, because Kelly was actually big enough and strong enough to lift him. If it was just me, I would never have got into the car. Do you know what I mean? Let alone the hospital.
Holy shit, Richard Lloyd. Another New York legend is Johnny Thunders, who used to front the Heartbreakers and the New York Dolls. He put out a legendary debut album in 1978 called So Low, a fantastic record. And his most well-known song from that specific record is You Can't Put Your Arms Around the Memory. And you play on that, and you sing on that.
Yeah, I'm very proud of doing that. I mean, at the time,
how did that came?
It was a laugh, you know, and it's only in hindsight I realised what a great record it is. I met him when we were playing the Speakeasy in January '77, and Michael Bill, who did the covers, front covers of various records, came up and said, I've got someone who wants to meet you. And so Johnny came up and introduced himself and said, I'm Johnny Thunders and I love your voice. And if someone says that to me, I immediately ingratiate themselves, and there was a certain charm about Johnny that was, you know, normally I'd only get attracted to females, but there was something about Johnny that, you know, I wanted to get to know him, and we became very good friends. And the reason he turned up there was that he'd read in Sounds that Keith Richards had been listening to some demos of the early ones.
Yeah.
And he was a big Keith Richards fan.
He was supposed to produce your debut album too, wasn't he?
That was never going to happen.
Okay.
That was mutual friends that wanted us to be, you know, sort of be people that put people together. But I mean, we went around. He played a song with ours called "Prisoners" that he really loved.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't even know what producer was, so you know, it was never put to me that, you know, he'd be a producer. But it was in people wanted to make something happen. But yeah, I mean, it was fun meeting him. I mean, I was never a Stones fan, I have to admit. But yeah, and so what was I saying? Yeah, so that's why Johnny came, because Johnny was a big Stones fan, and so he was curious. And so after I met him, he asked us to support the Heartbreakers at the Marquee. And I was round his flat, and I had this big argument in the next room. And it was Jerry and Nils, who is the manager of Susie and the Banshees. And I thought, you know, I didn't know there was a big controversy, because Susie and the Banshees had been promised the support slot. And so there's a big argument, and then I realised that Johnny had gone out on a limb. And after that, he just started to say to me, look, chuck out John Perry, I'll be your guitarist. He wanted to join the Only Ones, which was bizarre, because he couldn't play Planet, because Planet's got like a bar of 2/4 in it. You know, just...
Yeah, so Johnny couldn't play it?
Yeah. I mean, he could, you know, yeah.
He didn't have the skills for that specific song.
Yeah, I mean, what Johnny could play, he could play better than anyone else in the world. You know, he could bend a note out of tune with so much emotion that no one could replicate what Johnny did on guitar. But I felt that It would have been a different group if we just...
Yeah.
So eventually you realised that that wasn't going to happen. But then when, at the end of '77, the Heartbreakers broke up, and he asked me to help him get a band to start doing some gigs at the Speakeasy. And so he wanted me, Kelly and Alan, the Only One's bass player, to play. And the first gig we did was with that lineup. After the gig, Alan said, I don't want to do this anymore. Because Alan was the one person in the Only Ones that didn't take any drugs at all. Didn't drink, didn't take any drugs. And he could put up with it in the Only Ones. But when he didn't need to, when, he wasn't going to do it just for pleasure. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're the only ones who believed in the music. With Johnny, it was just too much. And so we had various other bass players. We even had Sid Vicious miming.
Sid Vicious miming?
Yeah, well, because the only, at sound check we realised that Sid couldn't really play.
But he used to move away 3 strings from his bass.
Well, because we tried to teach him stuff, and just, Johnny said, just pedal E. Like, pedaling E should be quite easy, but he had no idea where E was on the and so afterwards Johnny said, look, I'm not going to let him play. And Johnny was Sid's hero, and I said, look, you'll break his heart. And so we came to the compromise where we'd allow him to play, but the speaker wouldn't be connected to the amp.
That's really dark.
Well, at least it fulfilled Sid's dreams. So Nancy went out to introduce us, topless, and we went on, and Sid jumped around for the first 3 songs. But after 3 songs, he actually realised that nothing was coming out of his amplifier, which for Sid was quite a feat. So he started asking the roadies to connect, to fix it. And Johnny realised what was going on, so he announced, thank you, Sid Vicious, now I need brought on another bass player. So, I can't say that I played with Sid, but I was on the same stage with him, and he was jumping around, and it felt like Sid, And so out of those gigs, solo happened, because Dave Hill, who was the A&I guy at Real Records, he came up to me and said, if I give Johnny a record deal, make an album, do you promise you'll be involved? Because I think it will actually get done if you're involved. Because I was the one that was like sensible back then. So that's how it started.
Yeah, and you play on 4 songs of that. And
yeah, I think more, because the actual title track didn't come out in the original.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and there's a big guest list there. I mean, there's Chrissy Hine and there's Phil Lynott and Steve Lillywhite is producing it.
Yeah. I mean, all the tracks I did were original tracks, and Kelly was the drummer. And they're the songs that are my favourites. I mean, I used to play the covers with Johnny for the gigs, but I couldn't see the point of doing covers. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's hard for them to be better than the original.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the fact you've got an iconic voice like Steve Marriott, and and also we had things to do. So the session started with us doing "Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory," "Ask Me No Questions," "She's Untouchable."
Yeah.
One other that I can't remember, and the title track "Solo." And I love "Memory," but "Solo's" my favourite.
I love that record as well.
Yeah, I mean
in general.
The title track. Yeah, I've got a version where you can hear Johnny fall over into the drum kit, and Kelly, at the end, can say, "Are you all right? Are you all
right?" Talking about the States, I mean, you were supposed to play like 40, 50 gigs in the States, but it stopped in the middle of it. And it was kind of destroying for the band as well.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Yeah.
No. Can you tell what happened?
Well, we went to the States supporting the Who.
Supporting the Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, at that time.
Which was a mistake. You know, it was a real...
For who? No pun intended.
I don't think it affected them at all. I think they went on to have quite a good career, but yeah, it did end our career. CBS England told us not to go. They thought it'd be bad for us, and but our roadies were really excited, because like when we finally got there, our roadies had roadies, do you know what I mean? It was like, it was on a different level. And but we should have realised that it wasn't all that it was meant to be, because we were told like months before that, you know, they were thinking of inviting us to do it, and then about a month before they told us we were one of 3 on a short list, and then 2 days before the first gig we were told they wanted us. 2 days before the first gig, well, you know, it's short notice. I mean, it was amazing that we got a visa in that time. But we should have taken CBS's advice, because CBS England refused to give us tour support for it.
So you have to finance it yourself?
Well, you know, so CBS America were into it. They wanted us to go and do it. And they were going to pay us the money. They were going to give us 20 grand tour support. And once we got there, we realised why, because they were hobnobbing it all down the front. For them, it was like, you know, a great league. But we got chucked off the tour before we got the money from CBS, which was a drag. We were told by lawyers that we could have put an injunction on the tour and stop them from doing the gigs, and they were grossing like $250,000 a night. I mean, it's all stupid fucking business stuff.
Yeah.
But we took their manager, Bill Kervishley, we took his word, a handshake, promising, giving his word that if CBS America didn't come up with the money, he would pay us the money. And they could afford it, you know. Like I said, grossing like $250,000 a night, they could afford it. When we finally got back to England, he wouldn't take Zena's call. And I realised the way the business worked, you know.
Yeah, that's what I do it too.
So, like when we got, because we did San Diego, and then we did 7 gigs in LA, like 2 at the Forum and 5 at the sports stadium. And then we had like a month before, because we thought we were going to do the whole tour, but because we got chucked off, we had a month before our tour was meant to start, because we had a 30-day tour arranged for the end of it. And in that month, I suppose, we got bored, you know, didn't sort of things you usually do. But when we finally went to San Francisco to do, I had an argument with someone, and I ran them over, and I was told to get out of the state quickly. Luckily the next gig was in New York, I went there. We played the gigs, but someone had taken down the registration number.
So you ran over him with a car?
Yeah, well the thing is, he assaulted me first.
Okay, he started.
He started it.
So that was your weapon, kind of.
He was fucking 6'3" or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? Punch him and get killed? Do you know what I mean? Like,
so you just took the car and ran over it?
Didn't have any. Well, it was started because I parked. He was a car park attendant, and I parked near the entrance to his car park, and he took objection to that, and you know, he grabbed me and pushed me up against the wall, and everybody else had already left the car to go into a coffee bar to have breakfast. So I went in and told the roadies, look, this guy's just assaulted me, go and beat him up. And they just fuck off, you know. So I was left to my own, you know, what could I do? You know, I was still an angry young man then. Now, with the aid of heroin, I've learned how to pacify myself, and I can reach that mental state where I can be calm about any situation. But back then, this was like a personal insult. And so he wanted me to move the car, so I got in the car as if I was going to move it, and I reversed, and he was standing there like that with a smile on his face. And I just drove at him. I don't know, it was a stupid thing to do, but for us at the time, for that split second there, his face turned from a smirk to absolute horror. At that minute, I thought it was worth it. You know. And then when he went backwards over these trash cans. And people started running toward that. I realised I made a mistake. Like I panicked, I reversed, drove off, drove around Fisherman's Wharf, saw Alcatraz and stuff. And meanwhile, the band, and they'd come out of the coffee bar and seen an ambulance and this crowd of people. I thought, oh God, what has he done? And the guy was putting it on. You know, like in America, immediately you get a situation like that, they think, oh, I can sue someone. And so he was limping to the ambulance. You know, he wasn't dead. And no, it's just an overblown situation.
Yeah.
It was just a stupid chain of events that overtook what could have ended up being a great tour. But so we got a phone call from CBS in New York saying we've been contacted by San Francisco police who are going to put out a warrant for your arrest for assault with a deadly weapon and attempted murder. And you know, I've heard about American prisons, and I didn't think it would be a good place for me. So we got a flight out of there and cancelled about 30 gigs of our tour, which wouldn't have pleased our agent at all. We were meant to play in Seattle at a festival that became a music war. It was like a festival that were all the sort of groups at the time, you know, and it became a film that probably would have been good for our career, but and I haven't been back since. I mean,
you haven't been in the States since?
No, I mean, after that tour, you know, Alan came, the last night in New York, Alan came into my room and said, yeah, I'm leaving. And, you know, stupidly I said to him, well, I was going to leave anyway. Because, like, it felt like being chucked by a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And, you know, if a girlfriend
I don't love you either.
Yeah, I never cared about you anyway, you know. And I was a bit, yeah, I should have left it and then tried to talk him out of it, but went back to England and felt sorry for myself that, you know, my dream group breaking up, and decided to devote my life to obscuring that memory. And then in 2018 I was meant to tour there again, and we had a tour booked, and for some reason I had trouble getting a visa, and it wasn't to do with me running the guy over, because that was sorted out. I paid him, I think, 7,000, and Hertz, the rental company, paid him 7,000, and that was sorted out. Now it was.
You had trouble getting into the States still.
Yeah, it's police. You have to have this police certificate.
Yeah.
And when I first applied for the visa in America, I told them all the things I could remember, but that was probably only a third of, you know, it's hard to remember every single thing that and the things which stopped me getting the visa was custodial sentences, which I never served time, but I had a few suspended sentences. All of them for possession of drugs, you know, nothing, you know, I don't normally run people over, that was a once in a lifetime event. So yeah, I've never harmed anyone, apart from myself and my wife, because she followed me into that lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about that, because behind every strong man, there's an even stronger woman. It's kind of a well-known phrase. And I had the privilege to talk a few times to your lovely wife, Zena. She's here. Are you here, Zena? Yeah.
She follows me around. I can't get rid of her.
No, but I mean,
55 years, and she's
you've been married.
Yeah.
Since,
well, we've been together 55 years,
yeah.
Married for 54 years.
I read this fantastic and shockingly and very moving book by Nina Antonia called The One and Only Peter Perrett. That's like a roller coaster ride through one of the wildest, most unpredictable careers in the history of music. But it's almost more like a book about you two as a couple. it's a script. If I saw a movie or read a book that was fiction, I would have thought that script was that's not. I don't believe in that story because it's so weird and it's so.
I think the weirdest thing is that she actually stayed with me.
Yeah, I mean it is. But love is stronger than
I
death.
don't deserve to be so lucky, you know. Like, you know, no one else would have put up with me. And like, she taught me what real love is. And you know, I'm 71, almost 72. To reach that age with your soulmate is a privilege.
Yeah, because the book is actually about, as I said, about you as a couple, and it's a really romantic story behind. I mean, even though there's so much darkness there, it is a certain romance in the bottom, and you have added a chapter after you get drug free and everything. So it's kind of a happy ending too.
Yeah. Well,
it's so beautiful.
Incurable romantic, you know. He said that when I fall in love these days, it's platonic, which is less harmful to everybody involved. I have to fall in love to be able to keep writing songs. I can't write every song about Zena. So I like falling in love with people that I don't meet.
But what I thought was so moving when the record "How the West Was Won" came out, and the following up as well, was that you had your sons in your own band, and they had, like, in the past there were like troubles with the authorities and everything, and they were taken away from you and given back.
I mean, one of them was taken. Yeah. When Jamie was born.
Yeah.
You know, both you know, Peter was 10 weeks premature, Jamie was 6 weeks premature. So they were in the premature baby unit. And with Jamie, when we turned up to visit him, he wasn't there, and they wouldn't tell us where he was. And they call it a place of safety, where they put the child in a place of safety with the foster mother. And that was extremely painful because at that time Zena had actually stopped taking drugs as soon as she became pregnant, because we made a decision, look, you know, we don't want a child born with a habit. Either have an abortion or stop taking drugs. So she stopped taking drugs. You know, I was planning to stop once the baby was born. I mean, I don't know if I would have achieved that, but it never got to that, because as soon as Jamie was taken away, it was so painful, and the only way to kill the pain was to take drugs. So it was a self-defeating thing from the authorities, who don't really understand. I mean, we know lots of children that were left with alcoholics and child abusers that the authorities didn't target. But as soon as they know that someone's, you know, because the police contacted them, yeah, no, it's a very sad time in our lives.
Yeah,
and it took like 4 or 5 months to get him back, and we were lucky to get a date at the High Court when we did, because our lawyers told us that if we hadn't got that date, then we would never have got him back, because the court would have thought he was too established where he was.
And now you play in a band together. I mean,
this is it. I would have been deprived of a great guitarist. That's, you know, I put up with all the trouble he gave us growing up.
In the book, Neil Antonia she's quoting someone saying that Zena was more ambitious on your music than you.
Yeah. I mean, she
was like chasing you.
Well, she really believed in my songwriting and thought that it deserved to be heard. You know, I was just happy, you know, enjoying myself. You know, like for the first 10 years, I was unfaithful every day, so my focus was on falling in love all the time with different people. She was focused on my music and actually pushing me to get a band together, and then once the band was together, getting a record deal. And yeah, I'd still be in my bedroom writing songs that nobody would ever hear if it wasn't for Zena.
I think that is a perfect way to end this conversation. It's so lovely to have you both up here, and I'm so proud of talking to my big hero since I was like a teenager. So it's so nice to see you here. Thank you for the concert last night. thank you for being here and hanging out this evening too. I hope we can enjoy it later in the evening. And thank you for existing and living. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, thank you, Ollie.